So welcome everyone to the ESX webinar series brought to you by Security Systems News. And today's webinar, Get Moving, Opportunities and Requirements for Mobile Monitoring, with our sponsor today is Dice Corporation. This is our final webinar before ESX, another in a series covering the growing use of mobile technology, from mobile user interfaces to mobile assets. The rapid growth of cellular internet technology, smartphones, and apps have created a wave of new possibilities for alarm companies and monitoring centers alike. Wireless technology, addressable sensors, communicators have also created timely new applications of location-based and individualized services. And behind all of these technologies is increasingly advanced software, the platforms and protocols that make all of these cool new features possible. This is an exciting topic for any alarm company or monitoring center looking to expand into mobile monitoring or just keep up with this emerging new market, whether it's picking which app to use or looking for the right customer niche. So before we get started, we have a few housekeeping statements that we need to go over with you guys. We are recording this webinar today, and it will be available on ESX Web. It will be available first in the easiest place to look is /webinars. It'll also go into the archives on ESXperience, and we have direct links there for you to type them in. We also will have a portion of the webinar where we will entertain questions from the audience, and if you have any, feel free to type those in the questions window. Over on your right in the control panel there is a pane called Questions. You can pull that out and use it at will. If you would like to direct your questions to a particular speaker, go ahead and type their name in. If it's just a general question for everybody, that's fine too. So we'll see if we can get to them. We're going to try to keep this to 45 minutes, but if we do go over, it's just so that we can make sure we answer all of your questions. We have a fine lineup of speakers for you today. ESX specializes in peer-based education, and we try to pull industry experts from among your midst, peers that you can relate to that will share their insights and lessons into some of these new areas that they've tackled for you. Our featured speakers today are Stephen Coppola, President of Statewide Monitoring in Staten Island, New York, Kristen Hebert, Dealer and Vendor Relations Manager at Acadian Monitoring Services in Lafayette, Louisiana, Brent Pokrant, Monitoring Operations Manager from ProTelec in Winnipeg, Canada. My name is Virginia Williams. I'm the Director of Program Development for AE Ventures. And today we have from our sponsor, Clifford Dice, CEO and founder of Dice Corporation in Bay City, Michigan. Our learning objectives are pretty straightforward. We want to make sure that we all know what we're talking about as far as mobile monitoring. Although our primary focus is going to be on mobile assets, people, and things that move, we cannot ignore the impact of mobile user interface. We've done a lot of webinars already on apps, but it seems like there's always another angle that hasn't been uncovered, and the apps are just coming out faster than we can keep up with them almost. There are a lot of advantages and rewards to using these smartphone apps, both for the mobile assets as well as for fixed assets. So a lot of what we're going to cover today actually applies to both. And each of the speakers will cover their own approach to these mobile services, give you their perspectives and market strategy, as well as their business model, and in particular looking at the revenue. I mean, that's why we do this. And finally, they will share their experiences and lessons learned from the installation and service side as well. Not just monitoring, but how you deploy this stuff. So our first speaker, we're going to have a word from our sponsor, Clifford Dice. Clifford started the predecessor to Dice Corporation in 1985, and since then has steadily built and expanded the company to provide a wide range of software and IT solutions. He initially developed accounting software for the monitoring industry, but today Dice offers over 70 different product management products, including monitoring and event management software to monitoring centers, integrators, and guard companies. Basically, Dice software monitors any electronic or digital signal, wired or wireless, including video, access control, HVAC, fire systems, and more. To tell you about Dice's products today that relate to monitoring, mobile monitoring, here is Clifford Dice. Cliff?
Well, thank you, Virginia. I appreciate it. I thought today I would kind of share with you a little bit of the history about the app developments at Dice Corporation. The app division started out very small because a few years ago we didn't know where apps were going, and it's funny to think back just a few years ago there wasn't the apps, and the revolution of the iPads and the iPhones and the Android devices has really taken off and continued to grow. We now have over 20 different apps up in the Apple Store and Android market, and we've got a division of around four different developers that are building, and we're constantly looking for more. I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about the history. I mean, we built the department to initially our customers had said they wanted to have stickiness with their clients. They wanted to have their name in front of the alarm companies rather than the manufacturers of the alarm panels. And so our customers said, we don't want to have the various alarm panel manufacturers' name in front of our customer. We want ours. We want to be able to have the customer test their panel. We want them to be able to cancel alarms. We want them to pay their bills, update their credit cards, all sorts of things to have a customer interaction. In other words, be the CRM to the customer. And so what we've been doing is building apps that allow each of our customers, whether they're a guard company or a monitoring company or some other entity, a medical company who's doing PERS, have that custom seamless interaction with the customers and have it all skinned in their graphics so they have their name, whether the name is and the app is running on an iPhone or an iPad, or whether it's on an alarm panel screen, or for the companies that are providing content such as the MSO, having the app even on the television set. Those type of apps, because it's the same world, is what we're focused on. So we provide our customers with the graphics and the skinning, or they can provide us. And some of the apps that are up in the Apple market and Android market that we've done are medical PERS, alarm user end apps where you can cancel your alarm, have interaction with the live monitoring environment, panic apps, which are can be in healthcare, or they can be emergency type panic type apps. Service apps allow service people to be fully capable of automation out in the field, sales approval apps, inventory apps, fire inspection apps, and video verification apps. And so those are across the line of what we've done. And as we got into it, we realized we had to be concerned with battery life. We had to be concerned with how to wake things up, how to talk back and forth, how the central station or the accounting software could talk to the app and wake it up, how the app could talk to us and it'd be seamless, because now you're dealing with the end user. It's not just batch processing. So those are some of the things that we had to go through over the last 2 years to be successful, and then deploy server farms. And we have 2 data centers, deploy server farms so that the apps never go down. And so those are some of the things that we've went through, and that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy the three guest speakers. They're using some of our products. And go ahead, Virginia. That's all I had.
Very good. Thank you, Cliff. And next we have our first guest panelist, Stephen Coppola. Stephen has been in the industry since he was 13 years old. At 24, became the owner of Statewide Monitoring. In 2007, he won the Security Systems News 20 Under 40 Award. He holds several state licenses in the eastern U.S. states, and he's certified in NISAT as well as several security product areas. Statewide is a family-owned business, like many of you in the audience. Their philosophy is that they emphasize staying ahead of the technology curve. So to tell us more about how Statewide is using monitoring for mobile assets, here is Stephen Coppola. Sorry, Stephen, I always do that.
Either way, that's fine. Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, everyone who could join this webinar today, and hopefully you get something out of it today. My name is Stephen Coppola with Statewide Monitoring. Now, we're a wholesale monitoring center. Our customers are alarm companies, like I'm sure many who have joined this webinar today This means that these alarm companies rely on third-party centrals, such as myself, in order to accommodate their central station needs. So I'm going to try to focus more on the aspect of the industry of the wholesale end and alarm companies that are using wholesale central stations. I don't have much time, so I'm briefly going to discuss topics such as mobile PERS and mobile apps that are available both for the companies and their technicians and the end users. Mobile PERS first. So PERS has existed for quite a while, which many of you are aware of. Over the last 10 years or so, the security industry has been able to take advantage of the demand in this from manufacturers such as Linear and more recently a company LogicMark. What LogicMark did was they created a device, a Life Sentry unit, that allowed the end user better coverage range within their house. So all communication was actually done through the pendant as opposed to the traditional PERS home monitoring that relied more of a base station somewhere within the house or apartment, and you had to be closer to that station. Since then, other companies, I believe, saw the advantage of not being restricted to a base station or, in fact, the home itself. These new markets, I think, opened up, and companies such as Walmart, Verizon, AT&T now looked at these opportunities and became into the market. So for the security industry, once again, we saw phone companies, cable companies, and these other non-traditional security companies coming into our market. Thus, we needed a product that would allow us to compete. Now, unfortunately, I haven't seen many products. They're out there here and there that were built solely for the security industry and for alarm companies out there that don't have their own central station or aren't doing anything direct and was built for the security industry and not necessarily for a cell phone carrier. One that's making a mark recently called LogicMark. We ship in their version of mobile PERS. Besides them, I haven't seen too many products, as I said, out there in the industry, but I do believe that is going to be changing shortly as the demand gets more. Some challenges I see for the everyday alarm dealer out there. The biggest challenge I see right now is the price point of these devices. Not the physical cost of it, of purchasing it, but actually the monthly charges. After GPS and cellular provider takes out their cut, a wholesale central station like myself takes out my cut, will there be enough markup for that alarm dealer to sell to their clients? With these other companies like AT&T, Verizon, they do it directly. So their price point might be $15, $20. That is the question right now, which I'm not aware, don't know the answer to at this point, but it's going to be interesting to know. I know Cliff has developed products and has continued to develop products that hopefully will solve a solution like this by bypassing the cellular provider, and you can use your own provider on your phone with an app and devices that connect directly to your phone. So there are, I think, products coming down the line through Cliff and other providers that I think will help the everyday alarm company and out there that can't go directly to the end user. I'm going to talk a little about dealer apps and the features, benefits, and so forth for it. Today, most technicians are equipped with an app that allows the technicians to quickly put accounts on off test, check zones, contacts, history. The benefits are obvious on them. You quickly go into past history while you're at the site, see what problems they might have had, what zones they were going off, what issues they might have. Quickly put an account on or off test to confirm that central station received it correctly, the right number, the right description. And if it's not the right description, change the description right on the app. Ask the customer, is this your contact list? Do you want to make any changes on it? And do it directly at the site without doing it remotely afterwards or having the office or the central station doing it at a later time. Immediate acts. The subscriber end, this is something fairly new into the market, where the subscriber can have their own app. Now, it's evolved from pages to cell phone text to push notifications now with apps. And with each advance in technology, what you're getting is better communication between that end user customer and the central station. For instance, you get a page, you get a phone number from the central station, not really telling you much, maybe a 1 or 2 telling you if it's emergency or not. Now with text, you got more information. You can know zone numbers that went off and names that went off, site details. Now with the push notification and end user apps, not only are you able to receive these notifications, but then you can have direct interaction with the central station. You could also put things on off task, check zones, history, contacts, just like a technician could. But also do stuff like canceling an alarm dispatch. For instance, you get an alarm, it comes push notification on there. You can say, I want to cancel, I want to dispatch, I want to call the central station. And I think the biggest benefit of that in our industry right now is that on one alarm condition, you could push out 10 notifications and say, to these 10 people, the alarm went off, and quickly and immediately get a response back if it's a false alarm, or if it's a real alarm, or or any other situation. So quickly notifying end users and getting immediate response back from the end users is something that's available now and is very beneficial, I think, to the industry as a whole. I'm not going to get too much more into that because Protelic, one of our other sponsors today, panelists, will be talking a lot further on that. Once again, my name is Stephen with Statewide Central Station in Staten Island, New York, Wholesale Monitoring Center. And later on, if anyone has any questions regarding anything I said or anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Nice overview. So we'll move on then to our next speaker, Kristen Hebert. Kristen is from Lafayette, Louisiana, and although he's from the Lafayette area and works there now, he spends a lot of time in Baton Rouge and Chicago and the other Acadian offices as well. He's been in the industry since the year 2000, or as some of us remember, Y2K, and started at Acadian in 2005. He's progressed steadily in Acadian, from installation and service to operations and dealer relations. He is an active industry volunteer and leader in LLSSA, the Louisiana State PR chair, as well as the trade show chair. So to tell us more about Acadian and how they're using mobile monitoring, here's Kristen.
Good morning or afternoon to everyone. We look at mobile monitoring as about 5 different areas, and one of them, Stephen talked about it, and Brent, our next panelist, is going to talk about it, is mobile apps. So I'll leave that to Brent. But mobile PERS obviously is one big thing. So inside of mobile PERS, there's a couple different options there. You can have a GPS track solution, or you can have a cellular solution. And by cellular, meaning that instead of getting GPS coordinates to locate a person if they need assistance, you can use cellular triangulation. And that is not as accurate, but it is a cheaper version. So because cost is down, a lot of people like that option. Another piece inside of mobile PERS is emerging lately, fall detection. So being able to assist people when they fall and not able to push a button, maybe they hit their head, that kind of thing. Also geofencing, so if you have someone with a mobile PERS that is not allowed to leave a certain area, or they need to leave a certain area within a specific schedule, well, you could set geofences on a lot of these devices, so you know. Also speed alerts, so you know if they're traveling 70 miles an hour and they're 90 years old, that probably shouldn't be happening, so maybe something's wrong with them. Another future event, it's kind of the thing of tomorrow, is integrating telehealth inside of mobile PERS. So with telehealth, you'll be able to check vital signs, weight, you know, even down to blood glucose, all of that. Pulse oximeter, so we'll be able to see how much oxygen is in the blood. That's all future things that are coming, but it's right around the corner, so get ready for it. GPS vehicle tracking is kind of the second option, and from there, there's a couple different ways to accomplish it, whether it be a hardwired system that you're actually wiring to the ignition and battery and that kind of thing. And then there's the emergence of the OBD port plug-in modules. It's kind of the latest fad because it's so easy. It's literally a plug and play. And inside of both of those options, you'll have things like speed alerts, geofencing, idle time, start and stops, where they started and stopped, and then panic alerting if available with that device. Going along with the vehicle tracking, we also have asset tracking. And the main benefit with asset tracking is the allowed or disallowed zones in geofencing. The last option that we see as the future is lone worker monitoring. So with lone worker monitoring, you get a lot of the same features as an asset tracker. You can have geofencing. You also have speed alerting and panic alerting. And there's other features that different manufacturers come out with. But lone worker is especially in Canada right now, it's mandated in Canada for certain industries. So if you play in that market, you probably want to look at lone worker. The revenue opportunities you have with all of these equipment types is it a lease or a purchase? Just depending on how your business is set up, if you can do a lease, a lot of times the customer will go for a lease more often than not. And a lot of companies, a lot of dealers are built for the lease option. RMR services that you can have, or obviously the monitoring. Equipment, if it's a lease, and in the telehealth piece, which we talked about earlier, is another additional fee. That's kind of a specialty item, so you would have to contract a nursing agency or a triage line, as we have listed here, because that's more of either a nurse or a paramedic or EMT that would have to handle those specific calls. But those are all available all over the country. And then what's necessary to sell, install, and service? Obviously, you need a relevant business name for the business line that you're in. What devices you have, you should have on your website. Dedicated sales team, especially if you're going into mobile PERS or PERS in general, it is almost a requirement to have a dedicated sales team because it is a totally different animal than installing a bird, fire, or camera system. Also, a dedicated technical team for the PERS side because it's a lot more involved with pendant changes and low batteries and just the normal tech items that, you know, a 60, 70, 80-year-old person is going to call with that is a little bit over their head. And then the last option that's kind of necessary, especially if you're in the PERS and GPS markets, a central station that has a PSAP generator integration with their software. DICE has that available for all DICE users, so that is all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Christian. Mm-hmm. So our next speaker is Brent Pokrant from monitoring. He's the monitoring operations manager from ProTelec in Winnipeg, Canada. Brent has been in the alarm industry for over 26 years, and in the past 20 years, been responsible for ProTelec's monitoring operations. ProTelec is also a family-owned business and has been around since 1968, over 40 years. In 2004, they were the first Canadian company to win the CSA's 5-Diamond Central Station designation. So Brent is also very active in actively involved in collaborating on software development, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about that particular aspect of mobile monitoring and his efforts in that area. Brent?
Thank you very much, Virginia. Just a little more about ProTelec. We're a family-owned and operated company. Our business is 60% residential, 40% commercial, and we're a full-service provider that owns and self-monitors all our own accounts. ProTelec, both is statewide and Acadian, is actively working on mobile peers, mobile assets, and persons working alone monitoring, and we see big growth potential in these developing markets. However, we also are developing and implementing apps that are related to traditional markets that we've all been in for the past 40+ years. The realization I came to after reading countless ads from panel manufacturers that allowed end users to arm, disarm, lock and unlock doors, that no app existed that would notify a customer when an alarm event occurred at their property and allow them to interact with the monitoring station in real time. That app is, a screenshot of the app is actually displayed here. And it gives very simple process notification that a burglar alarm has occurred from a zone, customer's name is displayed, the address, location, and then gives them 3 very simple options to instruct the station to proceed with the dispatch and cancel. We really see tremendous benefits with this, just in empowering the customer with this app. And the other thing with it being driven by automation, the app, regardless of the age of a panel, the panel manufacturer, the customer can have the app provided they have an Apple or Android smartphone. There's no need to send an installer. no need to send a service tech, and there's no system upgrades involved. We feel not only does it create a more sticky customer by having them feel connected and in control of what's happening from their property, it's also more efficient with the app performing second stage actions while the operator is still in stage 1. We feel the app does meet the requirements of enhanced call verification by notifying the customer on their mobile device while the operator calls the primary premise, and will result in lower dispatch rates. Version 2 of the app will continue to add more user functions such as booking service, updating call lists, and any other traditional services or interactions our customers have with the monitoring center. Based on the current success of version 1, daily customer inquiries and registrations, we know the demand is there for apps that allow our customers to be interactive with their security systems and the monitoring center. With only officially launching version 1 in August of 2013, it's hard to determine the actual customer retention value of the app, but based on feedback from sales reps, it does give us a competitive edge. To test the customer's interest in version 1 was launched at no additional charge, and we had overwhelming success on initial launch. But as version 2 comes out, we do feel there is an opportunity for RMR here, and we believe $1 or $2 per user per month is very realistic. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Virginia, and open it up for questions.
Very good. Thank you, Brent. You've heard from all of our speakers basically saying similar things, and we've heard this in other webinars as well, about the sticky customers and even the strategy of giving it away at first until they realize that they love it and can't live without it, and then start charging them for it in version 2 or the second year. So good insights there, guys. Now we're going to move on to a couple of questions and use this as sort of a platform to let our speakers elaborate a little bit more for you. As a reminder, we have some questions coming in from the audience already, but if you have some, the questions window is what that's for. So first, let's start with a general question. Which types of systems and features do we think that there is the most demand for? And I'd like to start with Stephen on this one. What are you seeing out there, Stephen, as being your hottest sellers and most demanded features?
Well, most demanded definitely is apps, and that's why I believe we're having this seminar today, or this webinar, because it is the most asked about, whether it be for dealer or for end user. Apps by far is the most on-demand feature. Everyone wants their app on their phone, and I think it's the first thing they do is there an app for that, and they want to know there's an app for their security company, and stuff that DICE is doing now that's allowing the end user to be more interactive with the central station is definitely progressive and making that end user feel more empowered with their stuff.
So I think we're including both dealer apps and end user apps in this. So between the two, which would you say you're getting the most pull from your customers on?
Well, it was always the dealer apps. So the dealer apps, everyone wanted to know how they can do it with their technicians in the field, just because, as I said, the effectiveness of that technician having that in their hands as they go into the site, getting stuff done quicker, more efficient, and making sure things are done correctly. Just recently was the end user, where that end user is really looking for it. So what's happening in my business, where I'm a wholesale central station, I'm hearing it actually from my alarm companies, my alarm dealers, saying their customers want an app. They want to know if they can interact with the central station. Now, previously, they were able to do that through a current web browser or something like that, but everyone's on their phone, everyone wants it that way. So now I'm seeing, and now that it's available, that the technicians have it, their customers are now asking them, and it's coming back to us, what we can do for their customers.
Very good. So, so this is probably really drilling down on what people are wanting to know is which ones have been most profitable so far. So, Kristen, why don't you take that?
So profitability-wise, mobile PERS is absolutely the fastest growing thing we see right now on the PERS side. With the emergence of multiple mobile PERS devices coming into the marketplace, whereas there's been 1 or 2 that's been in here for a year, 2 years, there's probably 3 or 4 more that are just coming up now. So that is coming out, and it's very profitable compared to a traditional PERS on a POTS line. You know, a lot of people are collecting anywhere, you know, $30 to $20, whereas a mobile PERS, and depending on the situation, you may be at 60 or so, you know, down into the low 40s or high 30s.
Yeah, very good, very good. So at least there's good margin in there, at least at the beginning, until everybody. Go ahead.
There's a big range that it fits in also, so you kind of have some fluctuation depending on the subscriber.
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on that? It's okay. Sometimes people are a little more comfortable talking about their numbers than others. Okay, so the next one we have is what has made mobile monitoring attractive to you in the first place, but more importantly, what has surprised you the most? And I think I'd like to hear from Clifford on this one. He's probably sitting in the center of the circle on this. What do you think, Cliff?
Well, I think that there's a lot of different types of mobile monitoring. I mean, we see it with PERS, we see it with asset tracking. There's all sorts of different mobile monitoring. I have to agree with Christian. I think the fastest growing we see is the mobile healthcare PERS, and you know, there's a lot of different apps there. We see, you know, manufacturers building devices that communicate to us, either SMS or cellular, or they send an XML. We've had companies come to us because we have the apps division and say they just want us to build an app for them that's on the device, and then the app either interacts with ancillary things like you know, cars or pendants or other things, and then we build those things in to do whatever they need to do. So I think there's just a lot of ways to skin the cat and a lot of ways to make money. But you know, the people that are doing this and focused on it, and they have the sales teams to push it out there, it's pretty easy to bring in a lot of RMR from this stuff.
Very good. Thank you. So this is our last question before we've got a lot of audience coming in, so before we go to that, we'll real quickly ask this. What is your overall advice for someone entering the market right now? Brent, you want to take that one?
Sure. Do your research for sure. Talk with lots of people that you know in the industry that have already entered it. I know me and Kristen, both as DICE customers and people that have met one another, compare notes all the time on what each other are doing and successes and failures and so forth. So my best advice is look at this, but also do your homework and compare notes with other people in the industries. But there is tremendous opportunity here if you pursue it.
Very good. And I can tell you from the ESX standpoint, we echo that. Networking with your peers is one of the best ways to really keep your education sharp and current. So let's move on to the audience. They have some really good questions. I think the first one says it's for everybody, but I think Kristen was the one that was talking when this came in. So I'll just read it to you. Mobile PERS question. Do you have any difficulty with the AHJ response? For example, if you call an authority with a panic number and the response address is no specific address, like for a mall, for instance, does that authority respond, and if so, how?
So that is protocol driven. That's going to be dependent on the dealer. So what we do at Acadian with our dealers is we present those scenarios. So we have flow charts for every signal type that's sent in with certain scenarios. Like the exact example is a mall. So if we get a high traffic area, which is a mall, Walmart, a school, that kind of thing, we are typically, depending on the dealer, not going to dispatch the AHJ. Instead, we're probably going to research and find that location that they're at and dispatch someone from within that location. Because typically in a mall, there's security, and if you send an ambulance to a mall, it's a disaster. Whereas mall security can communicate within that building, typically a lot easier and more efficient than an ambulance or AHJ would.
Very good. So there are so many applications for this just-in-time technology and how connected we are. It's just amazing. So, okay, the next one is for, I think, Brent, you were talking when this came in. What is a PSAP generator integrator? Is that yours?
That was mine also. The PSAP generator, Cliff may want to speak on this also, but especially for anything that involves GPS tracking, whether it be mobile PERS or asset or vehicle tracking, while they're on the road, like the mall example, because if we're not finding them at their home location, which we know what that address is and who that authority is, if they're out at a mall or at a baseball game and we have to dispatch an authority there, we have to know who that authority is. So Cliff and others have created a PSAP database, or subscribe to a PSAP database that allows us with the DICE integration to literally click a button and it searches that database with those coordinates and comes back with the appropriate authority. And Cliff.
Very good.
Yeah, I was just going to add that those are boundary files, and there's many different boundary files we've access to. The one Christian is talking about is the various authorities, the PSAP boundary, and obviously when you get a GPS asset or a person, you know, has a heart attack on a golf course or whatever, the immediate thing we want to know is what is the jurisdiction where this person had the emergency, and then we basically infuse the call list with the right authority. But there's many other things, like Christian touched on one too, is like at a mall, you might not want to call the authorities. So you can do a dip. I mean, we can do a dip on the phone number of the mall or the phone number of the local house. I mean, all of those databases are available to bring in to give you numbers to call. It's what are you trying to accomplish? And this is where the strategy of whatever it is you're trying to monitor, and you have to really look at the strategy and build it in, and especially if it's got a voice component too. That's the other thing. I see a lot of people in the alarm industry, they'll try and do this stuff, what I would refer as not well thought out. You know, they try and bring audio into a phone switch that isn't interacting with the automation software and things like that. You really can't do that when you go into this realm. So you have to really think about everything, and these databases are just one of those areas.
Very good. It's a lot more than meets the eye, eh, Cliff? So our last question from the audience, this is coming from outside the U.S. in the Cayman Islands, and the question, it's not so much a question, but just a note that they need to connect to the mobile app. So I'm wondering if we have anything to offer on that, anything that's special about dealing with out-of-country connections like this?
I can take that because we do a lot down in the islands. We have a lot of installations down there and overseas. And DICE, actually, my family owns a telephone company, so we do a lot of SIP interconnectivity. So in the case of apps, especially if they're voice, you would route those across SIP trunks to wherever the server farm is. So like in the case of the islands, you know, you're getting large networks down there. They're starting to be fast. I was just in Barbados a couple weeks ago doing some business, and all of these islands are interconnected. You can easily move signals. You can easily move voice. You can even do the voice outside of the legacy telephone network, although those networks down in those islands are getting better and better, and we're seeing a lot more traction from people. So you can do these things globally as easy, and we even have customers that are, you know, that we're hosting. We host central stations and a lot of this technology. We're seeing customers from all over the world. The signals are coming to us in Michigan. We're pushing back the alarm screens. And so the way of doing business, the way of monitoring is completely changed because, frankly, a lot of the central stations we're installing, they don't even have computers. They don't have receivers. They don't have anything other than operators with computers that are logged in, and they're running completely off of data centers that are way more reliable and more redundant than any alarm company today, except for maybe a few of the large ones. So, yeah, you can easily do this overseas.
Very good. The technology is getting pretty common across platforms now, too. Beauty of IP, eh? All right, so even though we don't have much time left now, there's still a lot that's going to be covered at ESX in the conference program. These are the sessions that directly address mobile monitoring. If you look over the lineup online, you'll see that there are a number of other aspects of interactive services and mobile apps on the smartphone. Before it gets too late, the deadline is May 31st for the discounts. And of course, you can register after that, but the price goes up. So we're really pushing teams this year. We believe that one of the best ways to make use of your time at the show is to have your team there so that you can collaborate in real time as you're learning and setting up meetings and really to get together with your team. So we're going to try to make it fun for you. We have a couple of places here where you can post your company selfie. It can be fun. It can be serious. We recommend that you include your yard sign so that we kind of know who you are. But we encourage you to mix it up a little bit and use Facebook and Twitter. These are our handles. It's the Electronic Security Expo. Don't forget the "the." And our hashtag on Twitter is hashtag ESX2014. We have a fun show lined up for you, and of course it's Nashville, so how could it not be fun? And finally, I want to thank our panelists, our sponsor, and our audience. We will have a recording of this webinar posted within the next few days, and we thank you all. This concludes our webinar.